The public sentiment has changed on quite a few things in the past 6 months, okay? We can all go back and really point to the impetus of just public sentiment really changing in, on, and around the election of Donald Trump. That's normally where people want to go ahead and pinpoint it. Maybe it was happening a little bit beforehand. Maybe it just all kind of, festered and came to fruition a little bit after that. But I think that's about a good place where you can really put a pin in the public consciousness as the moment that people really stopped caring about adhering to a politically correct agenda. Don't get me wrong, okay? That is still the pervasing and the prevailing sentiment for so many people, but as 2025 has progressed so far, there have been a couple of landmark events, and one such event, okay, that compares and contrasts with the Carmelo Anthony, not the basketball player, even though I'm sure he's probably decent on the court for very obvious reasons, but the Shiloh case, which, if you're unfamiliar with her, where have you been over the past couple of weeks? And I don't want to delve too deeply into this, I'm just simply using this as a framing device, because if I want to talk any more about this situation, kind of want to use it as a framing to get behind the downfall of the Daily Wire, because it's been very interesting. There's been a lot of red flags popping up on that one, but no. Okay, Matt Walsh, who, it's weird, right? Because we got to go ahead and praise him from time to time, because every once in a while he gets something right. And then when it comes to culture in general, whether it be entertainment or just simply the societal goings on, he couldn't be more incorrect. So he's not quite living up to the meme of a broken clock being right twice a day, but at the same time, like, this isn't a fine Swiss timepiece. He's a clock that runs, I would say, about 25-30 minutes slow. Holds a steady pace, so I guess you can somehow plan your day out accordingly based on his responses, because he came forward with this, how the Shiloh case killed cancel culture. Now, from the outside looking in, from a lady that was smeared vociferously by the mainstream media and by a bunch of, Twitter and social media pundits as being a single mother, a meth head and all that stuff. And like I said, we'll get into this maybe at a later date, who knows, but a lot of that stuff has been debunked. It's untrue, but the video that got her in the crosshairs and elevated her public profile was, just her saying the N-word, and she's got, close to $1 million in funding from people that are just really tired of living in a constant state of fear. There's a bunch of different factors playing into this case, and like I said, we'll talk about it at a later date, but I think for your average individual that doesn't really have that much to lose, because Shiloh, well, she's a stay-at-home mom, so really there's no career, there's no job prospects for that, and perhaps at a later date, if things continue on a similar trajectory, when what could be used as evidence against her for being a liability at a company that she may or may not seek employment for in the future, there might be a little bit of a shift because she was afforded additional context and had overwhelming support. So things could change like that. So yeah, is cancel culture dead for the individual, for the anonymous individual? To be completely honest, man, it wasn't really there to begin with, okay? The whole idea of cancel culture has been kind of weaponized against people with something to lose. Not to say that, people trying to ruin her life, sending her legitimate threats of harm and death to herself, her family, and her kids, and obviously her defamation, but mean words and a bunch of leftists potentially doing something due to their unhinged nature and their unfulfilled SSRI prescription bottles. There's not so much of an online brigade that can really happen that would tear her life down the same way it would run for somebody that did have something to lose. Case in point, what is going on right now. Vice, I didn't know they were still operational. I thought they got sold off, last year? Or hell, maybe even in 2023. It's been a minute, but yeah, they still employ some interesting people who, instead of doing proper journalism, the stuff that made Vice a name way back in the early 2000s, are deciding to double down on the stuff that led them to bankruptcy in the late 2010s into the 2020s. Why is this a gamer Supps VTuber pushing the great replacement theory? Oh, because it's not a theory. And we've gotten to a point now where you have games journalists, because this is under Vice's gaming banner, which we know how scummy of an industry they are, instead of simping for companies or dissecting the problems in that realm. Now they're going after VTubers. Like, this is where they've sunk down to, huh? This is what we're doing with our time? But it's not too dissimilar to, certain accounts and publications going against people like, Asmongold. Then on the other side, people going after Hassan, and one's a little bit more justifiable than the other. But going back to this said article, it was published April 21st, and for a while, it was just kind of bubbling under the surface, but it wasn't until earlier this week that it started to get some traction, and somewhat dormant cancel culture started to bubble up once again. Let's read a little bit of this before we get to some highlights and some snippets. Gamer Supps is pretty much ubiquitous in VTubing. I'll take your word for it. I don't really watch any, VTubers. I've seen Kirsche, who we're going to be talking about here, on a couple of different panels, and yeah, he's got some pretty decent takes. Really bangs the drum. I don't really know too much about the Great Replacement theory, even though I know what it is, but I don't really know that she's pushing that. More or less, she's doing DEI stuff, and it's evolution into bridge, and really breaking down how these companies have very racist and exclusive hiring practices against certain people that Vice would love to see out of work or dead, but owned by popular, online content creator Jay Schlatt. Gamer Supps advertises itself as the most effective and healthy energy choice for gamers. It's just a terrible white label over-the-counter pre-workout, and it's like it's full of sucralose and a bunch of other artificial sweeteners. It's fine, as better than certain energy drinks, but I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, combined caffeine and neutral. Are you doing an ad for Gamer Supps? Are you trying to get sponsored here? Anna Valens. Okay. But it's a rite of passage for the growing VTuber to gain a Gamer Supps partnership, let alone snag a merchandise run via the company's waifu cups line. Okay, Neanners, bro, I'm so out of my depth on this one. For example, received her own cup with the company, as did Shiloh. Okay. However, Gamer Supps is in hot water with many VTuber fans, really, due to the behavior of one particular creator working within the company, Mythic Talents, Kirsche, Verstal, whatever. An anime fox girl with a knack of sharing alt-right talking points. What fucking year is this, bro? Is this 2015 or is this 2025? People are still unironically using the term alt-right. Get the fuck out of here. Kirsche has landed herself in controversy. Really? Because you keep on repeating it. You also give a detailed description of one of her sponsors, and that's all what this is about right here. Seeing somebody else who's successful, seeing somebody else who's popping off, and trying to take them down. Why? Because they're pushing the ideology that is diametrically opposed to one Anna Valens. And let's take a look at this stuff right here, because Vice journalist Anna Valens goes after VTuber Kirsche sponsors, for guilt by association, no other proof. Because just back to the article right here, one of her fans is a bona fide, oh my god, Kanye enjoyer. What the hell is going on here? Okay, so now you've got the little supplemental pieces to the article itself. Hi, Gamer Supps and U2s. Oh, going after a little merch line. Okay, a VTuber that you work with, Kirsche, has sent her following after me. Oh, this is after you publish this hit piece. Okay, they have repeatedly told me to yeet myself and commit 41%. Well, it's closer to 42 at this point, but all right. This kind of person you want to work with, a content creator who sends journalists transphobic threats. Buy some rope. It's like, joke's on you. I already have 300 feet. Do you condone transphobic threats? Like, you should be condemned, you sicko? Okay, that's interesting. This behavior is fitting a Gamer Supps partners community. Is U2's the proud supporter of a VTuber uses her following to tell a trans woman to yeet herself? Well, I mean, how do you know that these people, with their mundane opinions, if we're being completely honest, none of those, just meet any sort of threatening standard? But how do you know that they're acting on behalf of Kirsche? All right, you don't. But I mean, this is the type of person that we're dealing with. I wish I was joking. And this right here was a big reason as to why I wanted to cover this, because this shit, it's so fucking ludicrous, man. Like, every single time, man, it's just these depressed big pharma junkies that have nothing better to do in life, and just sick, sad individuals. That's what this is. Lashing out irrationally at people that they see are far more successful than them. Hey, they're out there trying to masquerade wearing a fake face, making believe as well, and they're not nearly as popular as the likes of Kirsche, and what's another one that's out there? There's a rabbit or something like that. Listen, I don't watch or listen to VTubers. I don't listen or regularly follow any of these commentary people, okay? Mostly because I don't want their opinions to influence me, and at the same time, I got better shit to do with my time. But at the same time, I don't get depressed when I see somebody with, you know, a waifu or avatar completely and totally pop off. I don't get mad when there's somebody who's got dead animals in his roof become the biggest streamer on Twitch. I don't really care, man. It's more or less inspiring knowing that, you know, you don't need the backing of a gigantic corporation in order to completely take over. All you need is authenticity, a microphone, and a webcam. That's as easy as it gets. I love to see that type of stuff. That really drives me to improve, as opposed to other people that are out there that think that life is just a finite piece of pie, who apparently Anna is very familiar with, so I'll just go ahead and use an appropriate analogy. Well, there's only a certain amount of attention and profitability out there, and they see the likes of Kirsche, Asmongold, Aiden Ross, a bunch of other independent creators that are out there, seeing them take up the pie, realizing that, oh cool, if you were good at what you were doing, instead of just a slanderous bastard, you could simply, I don't know, make your own pie. Again, something that you're also very familiar with. So Kirsche responds, this is exactly what happened a decade ago. This is exactly what happened with Kabrutus. Yes, the founder of, oh god, what did he call it to begin with? Because now I think it's DEI detected, but the SBI detected Steam group. Yeah. This time last year, he was, under fire, and Alyssa Mercante, the current waitress out there, put the fries in the bag, stupid. She was writing hit piece after hit piece, a big old Kotaku spread. But while Anna is still employed advice, theoretically, Kotaku, shed themselves of Mercante. So all's well that ends well. Anna Valens, yes, slanders me, and started an Ouroboros of self-referential journalism, where they cite each other as, yes, sources for how I'm some kind of evil Nazi who must have my financial security destroyed at all costs. And they want other more influential creators to read their lies and believe them, so the creators participate in my life ruination. Anna Valens threw the first stone. Anna Valens went after me, went after my sponsors, took me out of context, and applied their own thoughts to statements I have made, claiming it was my beliefs. I was and still am facing a hate campaign perpetuated by power-hungry ideologues with corporate backing, whose only goal is to inflicting life ruination upon me. Do not let them rewrite history and lie like they always do. Yeah, because as much as I've said, it's like I'm not a devout follower of Kirsche. I've seen her on a couple of different streams and a couple of different outlets, and thought that, pretty decent takes that are out there. Some of the ketchup stuff is a little bit cringe, but everybody's got little cringe aspects to them, so I'm not necessarily going to hold that against them. Just, this right here, going after your sponsors, going after your livelihood, trying to get you removed from your management company, and have your life actually ruined. This is cancel culture. This is the stuff that is still going on. And while I'm not entirely sure about the gamer Supps situation, maybe they've backed down and pussied out. They've done so in the past to other people. But Kirsche has been a big proponent of the game. Crime boss Rockay City is now actively deleting threads defending Kirsche, and pointing out the lies about her, while leaving her accusers' threads up. Now, as far as I know, and the update on this has been that some of those threads have been restored, so that's all well and good. But the developers behind this, the Crime Boss game, have publicly disassociated themselves from Kirsche, all on the back of that Vice piece. No need to be respectful anymore. This developer has clearly chosen a side and allowed slanderous statements about Kirsche to remain while erasing the facts. That commands scorn, not respect. Exactly. You pussied out the first time, and it doesn't matter that you've allowed other threads to pop back up. You tried to write the narrative in the moment, and therefore you're going to have to face the consequences, because they decided to, very much take a side, instead of being like, oh, okay, cool, somebody who supports our game may or may not have some iffy opinions. All right, cool. As Michael Jordan once said, Republican buys shoes as well, so who the fuck cares, man? You might vote red, you might vote blue, but your money is still green at the end of the day. What the fuck are these moralizing companies really up to, man? No. Instead of throwing away somebody who has a sizable following, who is, generally speaking, a common sense individual, no, you want to side with these freaks, okay? The cancellation brigade, that side of the aisle, who, played this game for free on PS5. It's a bit bigoted. You want to go ahead and you want to go with that group of people? Congratulations, you fucking played yourself, stupid. They use the phrase candy ass, okay, which is a gay slur. What? What? Candy ass is a... Bro, somebody who grew up watching a hell of a lot of WWF back in the late 90s, The Rock was actually more base than I gave him credit for. What the fuck is going on here? Okay. Also, the people of Cooler are shown as caricatures that wouldn't be out of place in a racist 80s movie. Well, which one? No, man. That's the community that you wanted to foster. Congratulations. You played your fucking self. But as for the rest of the cancel brigade, and Kirsche's been handling this excellently, they are never satisfied with taking down one person. This is never about just ruining one life. It's about canceling, and it's about ruining other people, because if nobody listens to these freaks, if they can't enforce their theoretical power on one person, they're not going to be successful. That's why they try to leverage other people. And unfortunately for these idiots, they're trying to leverage a man that I've been following for a very, very, very long time. And apparently, you don't know about this guy's iron spine. You don't know about this guy's, relatively prickly disposition. So why the fuck would you try to bring in Razerfist? Kirsche's collaborating with Razerfist, a man who defended the Confederacy. Very base take. His hour-long video on Lincoln is quite illuminating. His allegations of dating a minor. Oh, interesting. You want to drudge up that old lie? We'll get around to that here in a second. And is an extremely vocal apologist for Bill Cosby. Well, he made one video about it, and it was quite compelling as well. And other men accused of SA. Well, like Michael Jackson, guy who did no wrong and was totally set up by the likes of, Sony. Anyways, Kirsche actively emulates his aesthetic. Okay, showing that she's a genuine fan of him. Well, he's kind of one of the OGs in the space, and yeah, I've said it multiple times over, he's a big inspiration for me. If he would do more consistent work, I think that he would be the biggest commentator on the platform, but he goes at his own pace, and he decides to engage wherever he wants to. And this very much happened to be one of those situations where Razerfist decided to engage. I disproved those lies last month, and yeah, I knew that those were lies for a very long time and need not drudge them back up because, yeah, he disproved those lies in an 19 minute long video last month, you witless retard, meaning you have no excuse for repeating them. Never invoke my name again in your scummy defamation campaign, because that's exactly what this is, and this is exactly the way that you handle these defamatory slags, because as Razerfist has said previously, and as I have repeated ad nauseum, cancel culture is a participation sport. You can't be canceled unless you allow yourself to be canceled. Whether you're Kirsche, whether you're Shiloh Hendricks, or whether you're just somebody with a spicy opinion and you're being faced off and squared off against somebody with an axe to grind. Don't give in. This shit isn't going anywhere, as outlets like Vice and their ilk get closer and closer to shutting down. They will become increasingly more desperate. So stay alert and never give up. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Gonspell. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.